a very good morning. Right, it's not as warm as I hoped it would be. It's windy and the sun isn't as strong. So, I guess we're in the closing stages of summer and it's just a matter of getting used to it. Right, so actually I'll see how warm it feels because I might go further than I planned. Right, so this is, I don't know how long this video is going to be. Actually, it's not too bad. Right, so yesterday afternoon I uploaded a video to YouTube. And it was to do with the energy, well, it's not an energy crisis, it's man-made. And it's designed to control people, really. And I'm one of those people who will not be controlled. But I will leave that there. Oh my gosh, it's too cold. I'm not going too far, so I'm going to make this quick. Right, so people would say to me, what does it matter how other people choose to live their life? And I would say it matters because it has an impact on society, and I live in society. Even though as believers we are told to be in the world but not of it, we are in it. And as far as I am concerned, if I see something going on around me, I'm not going to sit and wait for somebody to deal with it. You know, for it to escalate. It's a bit like sort of back in the 80s, early 90s, people moved out of London when certain types of people that they didn't want to live next door to moved in. So instead of holding their ground, let's just imagine that for a minute that they were antisocial, or they're the type of people that they imagine might be antisocial. So instead of holding their ground, they moved out. And so you could look at it like a garden. Instead of weeding the garden, you let the weeds take over your garden. And you kind of sit there thinking it will sort itself out. That's the other angle. You kind of sit there being tolerant of the weeds while they overrun the garden. The weeds aren't going to say, well, let me not come and take over because the flowers were here before me. The weeds do what they do. So it's the same thing in society. There are certain types of people. Oh good, the sun's coming out, so maybe I can walk a bit further. There are certain types of people in society, and you can go on social media and see them. And in order for them to exist and survive, if you like, it means that certain other people have to step back, to step away from their rights. So you can't have, in some situations, you can't have, both people can't claim their rights because the one offends the other and the other offends the other, if you understand what I mean. So this is why it is my business how other people live, because I quite like my lifestyle, and my lifestyle doesn't actually impinge on anybody. I mind my own business, I live my own life. But if I see something and it's going to have a problem, and it's going to cause a problem for me somewhere down the line, then, as they say, you nip it in the bud. So that's why I come out and say what I say. and I conduct myself in the way that I do. I'm just being a good citizen, if you like, of the planet. Right, so that's that. The other thing was I got engaged in an exchange with a woman yesterday on Facebook. But it's one of those where I'm going to cross over. Well, not yet. It's one of those where I posted something. This woman doesn't know me from anywhere. And she came and she made a comment that I sound... I won't sort of go into it, just so I can keep this brief. But she said that I didn't sound very educated. Or rather, I didn't come across very educated. And I put it out there. I've never hidden the fact that I didn't go any further than secondary school, right? And I stayed 2 years extra so I could have my saxophone lessons. That's why I stayed on those 2 extra years. But I didn't go any further than secondary school. But it worked for me because the lifestyle that I have, I work for myself. I don't have a boss. So I pretty much can do whatever I like, when I like, just as long as I get my work done. And it is because of how I chose to live my life, why I am in a position where I can look after my sister for 2 years. And even though sometimes I'm sleep deprived, I've been able to do it nevertheless. Right, so talking about choices that I've made now. I said in a video a few days ago that I chose not to learn how to type because I knew that I didn't want to work in an office. So right there, that's me choosing to handicap myself. That's the choice that I made. That has prevented me from doing office work. Never done office work in my life. Don't know how to. It was my sister who used to do all the officey things for me when I needed to get things done. You know, sort of like invoices and all of that. I just sent her the details and she would sort it out for me. And email it back or print it off, and then I collect it from her. So that was the system, but then she got sick, so now I manage. I mean, she still has her faculties, so if I need anything, I can still ask her. But she just isn't physically capable of doing what she was once able to do. But I digress slightly on that. So the point that I'm going to make here is that in my time, I've done things in media and, if you like, entertainment. And sort of going back 15 years, around about 15 years. Actually, more than that. I've been around music and other things for a long time. Going back to the 80s. But it kind of dawned on me this morning why that was necessary. So going back to this exchange with the woman yesterday, I mentioned the singer Lizzo. And I've never listened to Lizzo. I don't know what her music sounds like, but I know I wouldn't want to listen to it. And people would say, but you're prejudiced. I'm not prejudiced. I know what I like and I stick to that. If I'm out and about and I hear a song, I will ask the DJ, what's that? Who is it by? And then I'll download it. That's how I consume music. But I'm not into rap or hip hop or anything like that. Never have been. So it's only every now and then I might hear something and I think I like that. But I wouldn't go looking at an artist and say, let me listen to them. If I hear the song, then I hear it. If I don't, then I don't. Because back in the day, that's how we used to hear music. On the radio or in a club or in a disco. That's how it worked back then. So I don't go looking for new music in the ways that are now available, sort of like online or whatever. So, cutting a very long story short here, this woman put to me Lizzo's credential that she's classically trained, and it's like big deal. So, because the whole point is like she takes her clothes off and then people make negative comments about her because of her size. And, that's all you see in the media. So, obviously, knowing the terrain, the first thing people are gonna do when they want to have a go at you is talk about how you look. But I don't think when it comes to Lizzo that anybody's gonna tell me that I'm jealous of her because she looks better than me. So then the next thing was my education. You come across as uneducated. Well, maybe that's because I am uneducated after a fashion, right? But so the whole point was I killed the argument because I think it's kind of surreal to be having a discussion on the Daily Mail Facebook page about somebody who is being featured in an article in the Daily Mail in a negative way, when I have been in the Daily Mail on more than one occasion, but made to look good. I say made to look good because, there are always embellishments, but the pictures don't lie. You see, I always tell people, look at the pictures. You may not trust what you're reading, but look at the pictures. So I shared the link because when I put my credential, but sometimes I use that as bait. I will say, well, I've done this and I've done that. But I'm only doing it as bait because Lizzo is famous and I'm not. Right? So that's how people look at it. But this one's famous. But the thing is, you don't have to be talented or gifted in any way to be famous nowadays. So, if you're talking about coverage, what kind of coverage? They say all publicity is good publicity. I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, on my part, I don't mind if people write negatively about me because I can disprove it. I have enough to work with, sort of like things that people might say. Let me try and think of an example. Like, for example, people might think, which some people do, like this thing with me being into fitness, it's because I'm trying to hang on to my youth. When I have a track record of saying from I was in my early 20s that I was never going to get old. And not just that, but from I was a teenager, I've had an exercise program. So, you see, so that's easily disputed if people want to come and levy that at me. But all of that aside, so having shared the article, because in response to my comment where I laid down my credentials, as I said, as bait, she reacted with the laughing emoji. So I replied, why are you laughing? Along with the article, and I got no response. But I can tell you one thing, she would have researched me, because that's what people do. And the whole point, I'm gonna kind of wrap up, because I'm coming to the point that I'm making. The whole point is, I coined a phrase in the early 2000s, so that's, I'm gonna say, more than 20 years ago now. And that phrase is, only a fool would think to teach a man lying asleep a wise man would think first to wake him and then to teach him. And the reason why I coined that phrase was because at the time when I was going to church, my methods were always called into question. So I was viewed as not loving, and I was given a talk to do, and what they would do, it was psychology. So in the time that you're preparing the talk, you're supposed to see yourself in the subject. So the topic of the talk that I was given, I was assigned to do this talk, and I had 2 weeks to prepare it and deliver it. And the topic was strengthening our brothers and sisters the Lord's way. And of course, having discernment and being quick on the uptake, I knew what that was about. I knew it was for me to look at my ways and repent. But when I was given the assignment, I thanked God, and I said, let's go. And that Sunday, when I gave that talk, you could hear a pin drop. You could hear a pin drop, because it didn't work out how it was supposed to work out. It backfired, basically. So, my whole point is, I said from the beginning, I live in this society, and if I want to keep living to the standard, and I do enjoy my life, I have peace. If I want to keep enjoying that peace, I have to make sure that, if you like, it's like a neighborhood watch type thing. I have to make sure that, we have the social media and all of that, that I put forward my, not necessarily my views, but, I post to make people think. And sometimes you gotta make people think twice. So the rubbish that they will do to someone else who will tolerate it, they won't come and do it to you. So depending on your belief, I've said perhaps Lot was a very scary person, and that's why he could survive in Sodom and Gomorrah, because they didn't bring that nonsense to his door. Right? So that's it, really. And I happen to think that all the exposure that I've had in media, the experiences that I've had, these are just so that I have something, they're like not necessarily weapons as such, but things to refer to. Like, oh, so Lizzo's in the newspaper, big deal. I've been in the Daily Mail as well. So this one's done that, big deal. I've done it too. You know what I mean? Because that's what people react to. Like yesterday, I was in the shop. I was in Sainsbury's yesterday, and I saw a newspaper headline about X Factor and Simon Cowell. And I wanted to take a picture of it, but I was trying to do it discreetly, but one of the members of staff came alongside, and I said, oh, I'm just looking at that, she's talking about X Factor, I was on it, and she said, oh really? And people tend to get excited when you say things like that, because everything is about reality TV, celebrity, you know what I mean? This is where we are now. So you just sort of like say something, like for example, oh, I was in one of the Harry Potter films, really? And that sort of, the reaction that you get from people, and then that sort of, if you like, you disarm them, right? So I think some of my experiences that I've had, the things that I've done, they serve as a means to an end, if you like. Right, so I'm going to leave this here because I think I pretty much said what I wanted to say, even if it's slightly disjointed. All right, well, listen, have a good day. Take care. Bye bye.